Greetings to the 22.3 thousand Grimdark enjoyers of my channel, and welcome to a different sort of video. This time I'm doing something a little less intensive on the editing side. As some of you may know, I've been working on a homebrew Wordbearers detachment. Why? Because I felt the 10th edition Chaos Space Marines Codex failed to provide a thematically satisfying option for the first heretics.
So that one's a great way to represent your Wordbearers.
In that effort, I've dabbled with many concepts, pivoting, flipping, and redrafting, now reaching a point where I feel like I am closing in on something satisfying. And I think it could benefit from a bit of input. Plus, since I often poo-poo on GW's rule choices, I figured I could give the opportunity for some tit for tat. To quote a legendary hero,
"Now, make me feel it. Make me feel alive again."
Critique my custom Wordbearers detachment. As a Chaos Space Marines detachment, the intention here is to fall in line with the official detachments in the Chaos Space Marines 10th edition Codex, and make use of the Dark Pact's army rule. I figured I'd specify this for clarity, and now that I have, we can move on. In the initial homebrew detachment document I shared in my Pact-Bound Zealots critique video, I shared a rule called Profane Equilibrium. It's a rule based around Dark Pacting. The Dark Pact's mechanic is simply a flavorful rule for the first heretics, and leaning into it is something a Wordbearers detachment ought to do. This is something Pact-Bound Zealots does get right. Essentially, Profane Equilibrium confers an empowered status to units which performed a Dark Pact, granting those units a 6-up feel no pain until your next command phase. Now there is a bit of mechanical richness here. Through leveraging Dark Pacts as a means to provide a perk, this detachment rule opens up a tactical choice for Overwatch as a means to get defenses up on a key unit, which is a neat recontextualization. And while in practice Profane Equilibrium is functional enough, I felt it wasn't ideal for the Wordbearers to be characterized by an army-wide 6-up feel no pain. They aren't a legion famed for their resiliency or immovable presence like the Death Guard or Iron Hands, both of which lack their typical army-wide feel no pains this edition. And in that regard, it felt in poor taste for the Wordbearers to have it. When I think of the Wordbearers and the aspect that characterizes them most broadly, it would be that they are warriors of faith. And in a paradigm where each sub-faction had a unique army rule rather than the one we have now, where unique sub-faction rules are nested under a shared faction rule, I think the Wordbearers would probably be best represented by a Miracle Dice type system. However, to layer in such a system under Dark Pacts feels a bit much. But a detachment rule which facilitates being blessed with favor and harnessing that favor for power does feel appropriate. Which brings us to the current iteration I've been working with. Undivided Favor has two components. The minor component offers all Wordbearers units a 5-up feel no pain to mortal wounds and devastating wounds, granting a potent defensive layer, but only against damage which would be rare, and can importantly protect them from potential Dark Pact backlash, while also following in step with their 9th edition Legion trait. The major component utilizes what I'm coining as the Tokens of Favor system. It works thusly. Each time a Wordbearers unit performs a Dark Pact, you gain a Token of Favor. And anytime a Wordbearers unit is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 damage roll. But each time such a reroll is used, you must pay 1 token of favor. This results in a detachment rule similar to the Eldar's Battle Host, or the Iron Hand's Armored Wrath, though it is effectively claiming the best attributes of both. The frequency of Battle Host offering multiple rerolls, paired with the breadth of Armored Wrath, which permits a damage reroll as well. But importantly, all of those rerolls are corralled by consuming a resource. So while it may be possible for you to reroll a hit, wound, and damage roll on a Land Raider's last cannon, because Tokens of Favor are primarily generated from Dark Pacts, it'll come at the cost of leveraging those rerolls elsewhere. There's also a recontextualizing factor here, as it's a rule that may cause one to reconsider their order of operations, as you may want to build up Tokens of Favor before activating choice units. The back-end tools are not too different from those I shared previously, but because I feel detachments with back-end tools which interact with their detachment system are more interesting, many have been retooled to work with the Tokens of Favor system. In this case, it takes the form of either spending or generating Tokens of Favor. Starting with Enhancements, Apostle of the Dark Council is a generator. It allows a Dark Apostle or a Dark Commune to perform a ritual in your command phase if they are within range of an objective marker. That ritual deals d6 mortal wounds to their unit, which can't be ignored by Feel No Pains. And for each wound that unit suffers, you gain a token of favor. I think an argument can be made for when doing battle with the Word Bearers, it would be thematically appropriate that they would have a gaggle of cultists performing some malign ritual. It's atypical and fluffy, and so this enhancement aims to serve just that. Exalted Possession is a fan-favorite warlord trait from Faith and Fury and the 9th edition Chaos Space Marines Codex. It's not particularly fancy, essentially buffing a Chaos Lord up to a possessed standard stat line, and it gives him the appropriate keywords and allows him to lead Possessed, which I don't believe is too egregious, as it's not like Possessed are particularly good. Which you would think wouldn't be something you should be able to claim, but here we are. Malefic Tome is a spender. Once per phase when the bearer is resolving a psychic attack, they can spend 1 token of favor to auto-pass a hit roll, which counts as a critical hit. It's not the spiciest, but circumstantially can be very useful, as the Dark Pact benefits key off of critical hits. And Master of the Union is a generator. It allows the Master of Possession to make a squad of Possessed a bit chunkier, granting them a 5-up Feel No Pain, and increases their OC by 1, because surely the Word Bearers Possessed, bound by a superior union, would have the OC of Legionaries. The generative perk is small, allowing the Master of Possession's knife ability to give you an extra token of favor when used. On the stratagem front, there are some familiar favorites and a few of my own big ideas, which are split down the middle between generators and spenders. Cursed Despoilers is a twist on the Raven Guard's A Deadly Prize. It's used in the command phase on an objective you control and stickies it. Like the Raven Guard strat, enemy units which enter its range can potentially suffer d3 mortal wounds. But uniquely, the Ruinous Powers reward you with d3 tokens of favor for despoiling. And in your command phase, each cursed site generates you a further 1. Malevolent Covenant is used in any phase when a Dark Pact test is failed, and allows you to redirect the mortal wounds suffered to a different unit within 6 inches. And if you choose an enemy unit, you gain 1 token of favor for each mortal wound inflicted. This one I find particularly exemplifies the opportunistic favor that can be claimed from the Dark Gods. Not only does it serve as a way to avoid being punished when failing a Dark Pact test, but the ability to apply cheeky mortal wound damage unexpectedly to a vulnerable unit has proven to be clutch in dire circumstances. Souls of the Devoted is a generator that asks you to inflict 2d3 mortal wounds to yourself, and lets you infuse those wounds to a nearby demon, hellbrood, or dreadnought, which of course pleases the Dark Gods, while you claim the benefits of a bit of recursion. This one again leverages opportunity, as if you are just towed into combat with an enemy unit, the mortal wounds being inflicted can pull you out of engagement range, a circumstantially handy side effect for a detachment without a fallback and act mechanic. Revered Hosts is a spender and fight phase booster. It allows your unit to reroll hit rolls of 1, a nod to how the Undivided Mark works in the Pact-Bound Zealots detachment. But if the attacking unit is a possessed Hellbrute or Dreadnought, you can reroll all hits. Its spending element allows you to spend 1 token of favor when using the stratagem to increase the AP of that unit's melee weapons. Hexagrammic Ward is a once per battle per unit damage blanker. Like its previous iteration in 9th edition, it's used before making a saving throw for an attack, instead turning its damage to 0. But if you spend d3 tokens of favor, this once per battle per unit strat can be used after attempting to make a saving throw. And for the last strat, I'm actually a bit torn. You see, I liked the idea of flexing Demon Shells, a strat which would tune up the AP of bolt weapons and give them dev wounds and hazardous, which would enable you to spend tokens of favor to ignore the hazardous penalties. But the Black Legion detachment has a strat with a bit of overlapping design space, which is a bit discouraging. Alternatively, I've also dabbled with a strat called Tainted Ancient, which is modeled after the Iron Hand's Ancient Fury stratagem. Like Ancient Fury, it's a battle round lasting performance booster, but rather than providing a +1 to hit, it instead allows the Hellbrute or Dreadnought to score critical hits on 5s, which I think better abstracts their undisciplined but empowered nature. Though ultimately, I'm undecided on which way to go here. And that's the current state of affairs of the Diabolus Demonkin detachment. Its target themes are possession, sacrifice, and demonic favor. But I want to hear what you think. I'm curious to get a general consensus on where it's sitting, as the goal with these sorts of projects is to make them as tasteful as possible. That's a wrap on this Homebrew Wordbearers Detachment update. If you enjoyed this video, there are buttons for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And a special thanks to Julius Maximus, as well as my other generous patrons and channel members. I'm setting things up so channel members and patrons get early access to videos. Just a little something for those who help keep the dream alive. Also, I've been doing hobby live streams on the channel, so if chill hobby jams are your thing, join in, and let's get those projects done. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.